Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. We have a great show for you today. Now, I went down a rabbit hole the other day, and I'm going to bring it to you. We're going to talk about that mommy vlogger. That's right, the Ruby Franke case. Kind of interesting. We have an update on the death of Celeste Rivas, you know, that singer, David, that spells his name with a 4. An elderly worker sustained some severe injuries and assault by a teenager at a Kansas City concert. What would you do if you couldn't find your vape pen? Somehow I think it wasn't beat a small child. A Texas man has been sentenced to death for the brutal murder of his estranged girlfriend. We have this day in legal history. Our quote of the day has to do with, why people avoid trial, and our dumb criminal of the day. Let's talk about it.
All right, lawyer.
Good day, everyone. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for joining us. You know the drill. Subscribe if you haven't. Like if you do. Leave me a comment below and hit that little bell for notifications. And yes, you can check us out on any of your favorite podcasting apps. Now, you also know that before we get to the docket, we're going to talk about a couple of things. First, go to crimetalksearch.com. Sign up for that background subscription service today. If there's someone coming into your life, maybe they're already in your life, but you're not getting that warm, fuzzy feeling, go check them out. When you sign up for that background subscription, which you can cancel at any time, so whether you want to do one search or 100 searches a day, you can cancel at any time. You're going to find out whether somebody has criminal history. You're going to find out phone numbers, emails, social media presence. Are they married? Are they divorced? Do they have big judgments and liens against them? Go to crimetalksearch.com. Find out today. Give yourself peace of mind. Maybe there's nothing there and it's the best money you spent. Maybe there is something there and yes, it gives you peace of mind and it is the best money that you ever spent. Go to crimetalksearch.com. You're going to be happy that you did. Couple of other things. Guess what? These things are flying off the shelves. I literally mean it. We got tons of these going out every day. People are signing up to get the CrimeTalk keychain, bag tag, whatever you like it. CrimeTalk on this side, CrimeTalk on this side. You can't go wrong. $5. Hit the link below. We'll ship it out to you the next day, assuming we have any left. Of course, we'll let you know if they're out of stock. We were giving these away at CrimeCon. It was the best giveaway in the entire convention. And I'll bet you $1 right now. Guess what? Everybody's going to have these next year. That's just my prediction. But also while you're there, when you go to the merchandise page, guess what? You can also get your baked in Colorado CBD dog treats. That's right. There's the lovely Miss Winnie the Bulldog on there. That's right. You can get an order of those. Sign up. We'll keep sending them to you every month. You can't go wrong with that stuff either. We'll get it out to you ASAP. All right, let's go ahead and open the record for Wednesday, September 24th, 2025. And the first, the mommy vlogger's nightmare. That's right, the Ruby Franke's fall from grace. Now, I told you, I was, couldn't sleep the other night, going through a bunch of stuff, and went down a rabbit hole, and we went down the Ruby Franke rabbit hole. So I thought this would be interesting. We've talked about this case in, sporadic sometimes, but let's kind of put it all together in one spot for you. All right. So let's peel back the glossy filter of fame and reveal the darkness lurking underneath. All right. Obviously, we're going to dive into the story that equals part heartbreak, horrifying, and hauntingly familiar. In the world of mommy vloggers, those picture perfect influencers dishing out parenting hacks and family vlogs, one woman's empire crumbled in the most unimaginable way. Who, you might ask? Ruby Franke, once a beacon of conservative Christian family values with over 2.5 million YouTube subscribers on her channel, and it was called 8 Passengers, Ruby preached discipline, faith, and tough love. But behind the cameras, her home was a house of horrors, starvation, isolation, physical torment, all in the name of saving her children from demons. Well, this is the story of how online adoration fueled a family's descent into abuse, exposed by a desperate escape back in 2022, and it's been immortalized in Hulu's chilling 2025 docuseries Devil in the Family: The Fall of Ruby Franke. So if you're new here, go ahead and hit that button. You know the drill. Subscribe if you haven't, like if you do, leave me a comment below, and make sure you leave us a comment. And you can check us out on any of your favorite podcasting apps. All right, let's get into it. This covers some allegations of some severe child abuse. So, obviously that's going to trigger you or something. Let's use your own judgment. All right. So let's get to it. So it's in the early 2010s, back in Springfield, Utah. Ruby Franke, a stay-at-home mom of 6, picks up a camera to document her chaotic but yet joyful life. With her husband, Kevin, who's a CPA, and kids ranging from toddlers to teenagers, she starts 8 passengers back in 2015. The name, a cheeky nod to the minivan's 8 seats, always packed, and they're always smiling. Anyway, videos like family game nights, chore charts, and devotionals rack up a lot of views. Ruby's no-nonsense style resonates. No junk food, strict bedtimes, and consequences over coddling. We're raising responsible adults, she'd say, her warm smile beaming through the screen. And by 2019, they're at 2 million subscribers. Sponsorships rolling in. Think essential oils and curriculum plugs. Ruby becomes a Mormon mommy icon, speaking at women's conferences, her faith front and center. One of the most viral early blogs, Our Family's Daily Routine, where she outlines the discipline that works. It is all sunshine and structure, or so it seems. We believe in natural consequences. If you make a mess, you clean it up. No excuses. Laughter from the kids echoes plates clinking in the spotless kitchen, right? So viewers ate all this stuff up. Comments flooded with, "You are my parenting hero," but cracks were there early. In 2019, a video titled "No Christmas Gifts for Eve" went viral. Ruby's 15-year-old daughter, Eve, disrespected her by lying about homework, so no presents. The internet split. Some praised the tough love, others cried abuse. Ruby doubled down, saying it built character. Fast forward. By 2022, Ruby's partnering with Jody Hildebrandt, a licensed therapist and life coach with her own Connections channel. And Jody's into emotional health with a heavy religious bent, exercising spirits through pain. They collab on videos, blending Ruby's family vlogs with Jody's therapy sessions. Their subscribers jumped to 2.5 million. Ruby quits 8 passengers in 2022 for a business partner rebrand with Jody, citing a divine calling. What happened to Kevin? Well, he gets sidelined, filing for divorce a little bit later. What viewers didn't see was the shift from quickly quirky discipline to something a little bit darker. Ruby starts deleting videos. Her posts get preachy, obsessed with sin, demons, obedience. Followers begin to notice, "Ruby, are you okay?" But the algorithm loves controversies, so views spike. Then there began to be few more red flags, and the abuse starts to unfold. So let's pull back the curtain. What started as strict parenting morphed into a form of systemic torment, all justified by a twisted theology. Now, Ruby and Jody believed the kids were possessed, needing purification through suffering. No more spankings. Now it's starvation, binding, isolation. And diaries later revealed Ruby's descent. She saw herself as a prophet, Jody as her guide. It began subtly. Remember those chore charts? Those evolved into work projects, kids laboring outside in blistering heat, no water breaks, as their penance. Eve, the eldest daughter, bore the brunt. At 15, after the Christmas snub, she was sent to a wilderness program, $30,000, but no contact. Ruby vlogged about it proudly. "Tough love saves souls," she proclaimed. By 2021, things were really starting to intensify. Hidden cameras and vents captured it all. Ruby installed the cameras for accountability. Now, the younger ones, especially 9-year-old Chad and 12-year-old Abby, suffered the most. No beds, just mats on concrete. Meals? A single tortilla if lucky. Punishment for being sassy? haircuts with dull scissors, forced hikes in diapers. Jody's influence? She convinced Ruby the kid's pain was spiritual warfare. Sessions involving screaming prayers, binding limbs with duct tape to cast out evil. Now, for a glimpse into the facade cracking from a therapist breaking down Ruby's early red flags like emotional neglect masked as discipline. Therapist explains how, she's withholding affection. That's not parenting, that's control. The kid's eyes are flat, resigned, and this is the start of a trauma bonding. Publicity. Ruby's still posting. That's right. In 2022, a video shows her business launch with Jody smiling, poised, talking faith and family. But off camera, well, Chad's journals released in 2024 detail months locked in Jody's basement office, covered in lice, weighing no more than 54 pounds at the age of 12. Abby duct taped daily, whispered to siblings, "Mom says we're going to die if we don't obey." Kevin tried intervening, texted friends about Ruby's cult-like obsessions with Jody, but he was painted as the villain in various vlogs. Eve, now emancipated, started her own channel, subtly shading the family dynamics. Fans speculated. Reddit threads exploded with, "Is Ruby in a cult?" Yet sponsorships kept flowing. Why didn't anyone act? Well, that blind faith in influencers, the halo effect, millions watched, donated, and defended all of her actions. What was the turning point? The summer of 2022, Chad escapes Jody's home, running to a neighbor's house, emaciated, tape marks on wrists, begging for water. "My mom says I'm possessed," he gasps. That's when the house of cards came tumbling down. So on August 30th, 2022, Chad's desperate sprint triggers 911 calls. Police swarm Jody's Irvine, Utah home. Body cam footage shows the chaos. Officers find Abby in the same state, starved, sunburned, bound. Ruby, she's arrested hiking nearby, calmly telling police, "I've been doing this for their own salvation." Are charges filed? Yes, 6 felonies each for Ruby and Jody. The charges: aggravated child abuse and kidnapping. Evidence mounts, some 3,000 photos of injuries. Ruby's journals confessing, "I held the knife to his throat to teach obedience." Kevin, the husband, ex-husband, gets emergency custody. Eve sues for emancipation. And then we have a trial that was supposed to go in 2023 that turned into, well, a media circus. And then what happened? Ruby pleads guilty to 4 counts. No contest, just a tearful apology from jail. "I was deceived by darkness," she claims, blaming Jody. Sentenced, guess what? Up to 30 years each, minimum 4. Jody's therapy license revoked. 8 passengers deleted, but archived, lived on in court documents. So what's happened since? 2 years on, the Frank's kids heal. Chad and Abby in therapy. Eve thriving as an advocate. Kevin rebuilds quietly. Ruby, well, she's in prison writing letters of remorse. But 2025's Devil in the Family on Hulu rips it open anew. The 4-part series drops never seen footage. Vlog outtakes, survivor interviews, experts dive into influencer toxicity and religious extremism. So, from viral mom to villain, how faith became fanaticism. It's streaming now. Perfect binge after this episode, I guess, ladies and gentlemen. So how did everybody miss this? Well, it's platforms like YouTube because, well, they profited. Algorithms pushed extremes. Today, it sparks talk on content moderation, faith-based abuse, and, Ruby's story, a warning that the perfect feed might hide hell. And, we get asked all the time, ladies and gentlemen, "Scott, you should have more subscribers." Well, I guess we could go to the extreme, but that's not what we do. We'd like to focus on facts. So what hits hardest about all this? Well, the betrayal, not just by Ruby, obviously, but by us, the audience, right? We cheered her. Discipline while her kids starved. We were complicit somewhat, were we not? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Cult or crazy? And let's take a little thinking about how we follow some people sometime. I'm just as guilty. So like I said, ladies and gentlemen, went down the rabbit hole the other day, found it rather interesting between, Hulu, the other channels. I remember talking about this case, but I don't know why it just was just weird, and how we can get wrapped up with YouTube personalities. We all do it. We find somebody we like. We think they're doing great. They can't do anything wrong, and then you just never know what's really going on. What's really going on, I guess, in the real world, just like with everybody. Next on the docket, an update on the death of Celeste Rivas. Now, an individual that appears to be bearing a strong resemblance to Celeste Rivas was observed at a concert by the artist David back in August of 2025. Now, if this identification is accurate, it would significantly narrow the time frame surrounding her death. What do we got? Well, we got footage from the event held on August 23rd or 24th in Silver Springs, Maryland, and it depicts a female spectator on a side balcony adjacent to the stage with features akin to those of Miss Rivas. Her hairstyle aligns with known images of Rivas, and notably, she is attired in a black tube top, consistent with the clothing description provided by police upon the discovery of Rivas's body in the trunk of David's Tesla car. Now, the timing of the concert is relevant, occurring approximately 12 days prior to the towing of David's abandoned Tesla from a location near his residence in the Hollywood Hills on September 5th of this year. Now, the vehicle was impounded and Rivas's remains were located on September 8th following reports of an offensive odor emanating from the Tesla at the Hollywood impound facility. Police continue to examine the circumstances of Rivas's death, with the exact date and cause remaining undetermined and no suspects publicly identified at this time. Now, in any related development concerning the David case, sources with law enforcement have disclosed that the 15-year-old female found deceased in the trunk of the singer's Tesla had a history of fleeing from a challenging domestic environment and possessed counterfeit identification documents. Now, Celeste Rivas, whose remains were recovered early in September, had been listed as missing on several occasions by her family. Now, detectives from the Los Angeles Police Department, the Homicide Division, are reconstructing her background to ascertain the events preceding her demise. Now, according to the investigation sources, substantial indications point to a dysfunctional household, which likely contributed to her repeated runaways from the house. One reported episode occurred on March 19, 2024, when Rivas' sister examined surveillance recordings at a liquor store near her school bus stop in an effort to locate her after the absence. Additionally, a teacher from her middle school informed investigators that Miss Rivas had gone missing back in January of 2024, only to be located in the Hollywood Hills area in the subsequent month and reunited with her family. It is noteworthy that David maintains a residence in the same area, and Rivas' final disappearance took place in April of 2024. Now, obviously, questions persist regarding whether the family engaged Los Angeles police during the spring incident to investigate her whereabouts following the February recovery. Now, Rivas reportedly evaded detection by utilizing various false identification cards to present herself as being much older than she was. And prior to official confirmation of her identity, a lead provided to media outlets included details from her mother about a distinctive red tattoo on her right index finger and her association with an individual named David. This information assisted homicide detectives in verifying her as the victim. Now, as of September 24th, today, the Los Angeles Police Coroner's Office has authorized the release of Rivas' remains to her family, and the body was identified after the Tesla was transported to an impound yard one day before what would have been her 15th birthday. Officials noted advanced decomposition, suggesting the remains had been in the vehicle for a somewhat extended period of time, and Rivas had been formally reported missing since May of 2024. Now, in the preceding week, law enforcement searched David's Hollywood Hills property, seeking traces of blood related to the investigation. Now, as of this date, no formal charges have been filed against David, whose legal name is David Anthony Burke. And photographic evidence has emerged showing David and the deceased adolescents together in a green booth at an establishment with a camera flash visible in a background mirror. David appears in a black shirt featuring a white spider design similar to attire worn in a prior image with another public figure back in 2023. The pair appears to display familiarity with each other in the photograph. Further connections include a January 2024 online stream featuring both individuals, during which Rivas prompted David to respond to an audience inquiry. Online observers have highlighted a 2022 rock video for David's track Romantic Homicide, which features a female participant who resembles Miss Rivas. Additionally, a December 2023 unreleased demo titled Celeste Demo Unfin contains lyrics describing attributes such as a name tattooed on the chest, a scent reminiscent of cigarettes, and elements suggesting an intimate relationship. And it remains unconfirmed whether these references pertain directly to Miss Rivas. The plot thickens on this one, ladies and gentlemen. Why was this guy not concerned about his car? Apparently this woman, allegedly, was familiar with this David. Did he not think it's odd that he couldn't find her? She's attending concerts with him, helping him with streams, but then just disappears and no concern? The plot thickens. Next on the docket, an elderly worker gets, the crap beat out of him. So a 66-year-old employee by the name of Thomas Schlang endured a fractured nose and potential eye damage following a violent attack by a 14-year-old attendee at a rap performance in Kansas City, Missouri. Now, the incident occurred during an NBA Young Boy concert at the T-Mobile Center on Sunday evening, where Schlang, serving in a guest services role, requested the young man to relocate to his assigned seating area. The unidentified juvenile, who has not yet faced charges, forcefully threw Schlang to the ground and struck him repeatedly with closed fists. Newly released footage depicts Schlang in visible distress with blood streaming from his mouth after the assault. Now, according to the GoFundMe campaign established for his support, Schlang was already managing glaucoma prior to the event, raising fears of long-term impacts on his eyesight. Now, photos on the page illustrate significant swelling around his nose and lacerated bruises, upper lip, and family members in discussion shared via a local Facebook group promoted the fundraiser, indicating that reconstructive surgery for his nose might also be necessary. Now, the altercation began when other attendees alerted Schlang to the teenager's presence in an unauthorized section. Upon approaching to address the matter, Schlang was tackled over a chair by the youth, as captured on the video, that has elicited obviously some widespread condemnation online. And the young man advanced with raised fists, prompting Schlang to retreat before unleashing a series of blows. Surrounding spectators reacted with alarm, shouting, and some attempted to stop the assault. The teenager was eventually pulled away, leaving Schlang collapsed on the floor without his eyeglasses. Now, the concert attendee, a guy by the name of Robert McDaniel, who recorded the event, shared details with the press. He explained that the fellow patrons had identified the youth as being out of place. McDaniel stated the assault stemmed from the teenager's ticket belonging to a different section, resulting in the broken nose of the employee. He further emphasized the need for intervention with young individuals, noting these are children lacking in logical reasoning and emotional regulation. We face a widespread issue with boys not learning to manage such feelings, Ms. McDaniel stated. Police from Kansas City Police Department confirmed that an assault took place, leading to the detention of the young youth of America. Both parties received medical attention at a nearby hospital for injuries, but none were life-threatening. The inquiry remains active, with detectives collaborating with prosecutors to evaluate possible charges. Given the suspect's age, any proceeding would occur in juvenile court or the family court there. A representative from the T-Mobile Center labeled the episode as horrific and clarified that the victim was part of the venue's guest services staff. The statement read, "The singular occurrence does not represent our facility, our community, or the vast majority of attendees of various ages who experienced the event without disruption." It was noted that the injuries, while severe, are not expected to endanger life. Now, NBA young boy, whose legal name is Kentrell Deshaun Galden, possesses an extensive criminal record encompassing charges related to narcotics, firearms, and attempted homicide, and he's presently on his MASA tour, an abbreviation for Make America Slime Again. A scheduled appearance in Chicago was canceled by the United Center with refunds to be provided. Now, the venue announced that the decision on Tuesday without specifying a cause, as it remains uncertain whether the Kansas City incident influenced the outcome. A couple of thoughts on this one, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know about you, but if you pay for good tickets, right? You pay the extra money, you work hard, you think I'm going to reward myself and get some good tickets. And then somebody from the nosebleed section comes down and sits there because they think they can, or they're going to stay until they get asked to leave. Big pet peeve of mine. All right. You have an assigned seat. Nothing drives me crazier. I can even tell you, we went to the CU game once and we got tickets down low because we thought, oh, we're going to be down low. It's going to be fun. No, I like the box seats where you know you're going to sit, you know where you can get some food, right? Because you just kept moving around and sliding up and down and people just come and go. Drives me bonkers. It's like an airplane. It's your seat. Nobody should be sitting in your seat. You know where you're going to sit. And I don't know about you, but I'm there to watch the game. I'm not there to mingle or the concert, whatever. I want to see what I came there to see. And then some youth of America attacking an elderly gentleman who's trying to make a few extra bucks to get by, and he assaults him. That young kid needs to go to the equivalent of kid prison. He clearly cannot control his emotions, and that's where he belongs. Now, we'll give him the presumption of innocence, but when you go around beating people up for no apparent reason other than you need to leave this section because you don't belong here, your ticket isn't for here, lock him up, I say. Next on the docket, what would you do if you lost your vape pen? Would you beat up a small child? I think not, but oh, how utterly charming. A young father in Ohio, apparently overwhelmed by the rigors of parenthood, decides that a misplaced vaping device warrants a full-scale meltdown, culminating in the alleged strangulation of his girlfriend and the infliction of a brain damage on their 1-month-old son. Truly a shining example of parental priorities. Now, according to police, 20-year-old Hunter P. Dalton now faces charges including felonious assault, domestic violence, and simple assault following an incident that unfolded last week in Whitehall, roughly 150 miles southwest of Cleveland. Now, officers from the local police department responded to a midday emergency call at an apartment complex on East Main Street, where the infant's mother had barricaded herself in the leasing office with their dog, frantically reporting threats to her life and the child's. Upon arrival, police detained Dalton outside their residence and discovered the newborn in his crib, struggling to breathe, a condition that obviously necessitated some immediate transport to the local children's hospital. There, medical professionals diagnosed the baby with cerebral hemorrhage and lasting neurological impairments, though mercifully, survival is anticipated. How reassuring. Well, the mother recounted to police that this was not an isolated outburst. Dalton had purportedly choked her just the day prior, and on the morning in question, his ire reportedly ignited upon awakening to find his vape nowhere in sight. Her refusal to assist in the search while tending to their child only fueled the rage, exacerbated by the sight of the family dog having nibbled on some tissues. In a display of remarkable composure, Dalton allegedly then hurled her to the floor, assaulting the pet, flung household items about, and issued death threats to both her and the infant. She attributed his escalating anger management challenges to the stresses of being a new father, describing him as perpetually on edge. Dalton, for his part, insisted in questioning that he had merely relocated the baby from a bouncer to the crib, denying any harm. How convenient. Anyway, the police department's chief offered a statement dripping with some official solemnity, extending hopes for the child's recovery and praising the department's exemplary handling of the matter, while urging communal support for the family amid this trying period. Needless to say, the investigation continues. Further details will be forthcoming. But Dalton remains incarcerated at the local jail, secured behind bars because he's unable to post a $1 million bond. If he is, in fact, somehow released, he is barred from threats, weapons, alcohol, or victim contact. His arraignment is set for September 29th. Plenty of time, one supposes, to reflect on the profound importance of electronic nicotine delivery systems. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You can't find your vape. Let's commit a domestic violence, little child abuse. Obviously, we'll give Mr. Dalton the presumption of innocence, but doesn't look good, so to speak. And I hope the child has a recovery, full recovery. That could be so serious. So serious. Next, a Texas man has been sentenced to death for the brutal murder of his estranged girlfriend, a mother of 2 young children whose body was concealed in the crawl space beneath his residence. So let's jump down to Fort Worth, Texas, Tarrant County to be exact, where they have reported that the 28-year-old individual by the name of Valerian, goes by Will Osteen, received a death sentence from a jury on September 22nd for the capital murder of 26-year-old Marissa Grimes. Prosecutors detailed a pattern of prior domestic abuse by Osteen toward Miss Grimes, and in January of 2022, he allegedly issued death threats against her and confined her in his home for several days. Following a text message from Grimes to her father, law enforcement intervened, leading to Osteen's arrest on charges related to family violence. Shockingly, upon posting bail, he was required to maintain his distance from Miss Grimes and to wear an electronic monitoring device. Are you saying he didn't follow it? That's right. According to the district attorney, Osteen expressed frustration over the pending charges, as well as having to wear that pesky ankle monitor, and he reportedly confided in others about his intentions to go back and harm Miss Grimes. Despite efforts by her family to relocate her to West Texas for safety, Grimes reestablished contacts with Osteen. On the evening of February 12, 2022, while transporting her belongings in a rented moving truck, she visited his home for a bid farewell. Witnesses indicated that the pair later went to a nearby neighbor's property where Osteen allegedly brandished a firearm and menaced Miss Grimes. Family members soon alerted authorities of Miss Grimes' disappearance, and investigators located her abandoned rental truck about a mile from Osteen's address. A subsequent search of the property revealed Grimes' remains, which were in an advanced state of decomposition, enveloped in bedding and plastic sheets, and hidden in the home's crawl space. Needless to say, the prosecutors noted that the defendant had excavated a rudimentary burial site and resided directly above it for approximately 10 days. Autopsy's findings revealed severe injuries, including fractures to her arm, nose, and ribs, along with dual orbital bruising and numerous head wounds. The cause of death was attributed to severe blunt impact to the head, and they classified it as homicide. Anyway, the prosecutors described the incident to jurors as fatal assault involving elements of prolonged suffering. Texas, ladies and gentlemen, they still got the death penalty, and they're not afraid to use it. Some things are just so bad, ladies and gentlemen. They are just so bad. What do you do with those people that have no redeeming qualities whatsoever? Now, you try to find the good in everybody, do you not? We all do. I know as a defense attorney, I have to. But as a member of the community, you wonder, I wouldn't want this guy out on the streets ever again. Would you? I don't think so. Next, this day in legal history, September 24th, 1657, going old school. The first autopsy and coroner's jury verdicts are recorded in Maryland, marking an early milestone in American medical legal procedures and forensic jurisprudence. On September 24th, 1789, Congress instituted a 3-tiered federal judicial structure, topped off by the United States Supreme Court with the passage of an act to establish the Judicial Courts of the United States, later known as the Judiciary Act of 1789. And on that same date, President George Washington nominates John Jay as the first Chief Justice of the United States. Obviously, a foundational step in establishing a federal judiciary. That's right. You got the district courts, federal district courts, U.S. district courts. Then you got the appellate courts in various circuits. And then obviously the United States Supreme Court. Our quote of the day: a man confesses guilt by avoiding trial. You may say, Scott, that's so profound. Who would have come up with that? That sounds so recent. No. Publius Syrus, a Latin writer. 43 BC, ladies and gentlemen. That's a long time ago. We're really going old school today, are we not? But once again, it shows it's all the same, right? If somebody runs from court, runs from the scene, you're avoiding the trial, confesses guilt, consciousness of guilt, something along those lines, right? If you don't want to go to trial, well, you have an option, plead guilty, saying you're guilty. Something to think about, ladies and gentlemen. 43 BC. What do I keep saying? It's all the same. We've been dealing with this for thousands of years. We just repackage it. We think we get a little smarter. And then you see that they've been dealing with these same issues, that same small percentage of the community forever. I remember in the military, they would always say, you're going to spend 90% of your time on 10% of your Marines. Kind of the general statistics, that 10%, ladies and gentlemen. What are we going to do with them? Hopefully they change, follow, become good members of the community. And then finally, our dumb criminal of the day. A little rage baiting turns into some real life drama. In a plot worthy of a low budget thriller, a Florida resident's ambitious plan to monetize some manufactured outrage online spectacularly imploded, resulting in his arrest for brandishing a hefty stick at neighbors, bellowing at youngsters, and deploying a racial epithet, according to police. Now, police arrived at the Palm Grove Village mobile home community following multiple emergency calls where they encountered 34-year-old Anthe Tai vociferously berating his own mother, several juveniles, and the mother of those children in some shared space. Tai candidly explained to the police that his outburst was a calculated performance designed to capture authentic reaction for rage baiting videos destined for social media platforms and presumably profit. The official report, however, remains somewhat coy about which platform was poised to host this pinnacle of digital artistry. Further details reveal that Tai escalated matters by approaching various neighbors while swinging a substantially sized stick, instilling genuine alarm. His midnight escapades around 12:45 a.m. also featured shouts directed at children, the utterance of a derogatory racial term, and obstructing vehicles on the Pinenas Park premises where he lives. He now faces charges of disorderly conduct, and Tai entered a no contest plea to the misdemeanor offense. He was found guilty, ordered to pay a $550 fine, and freed from the county detention after a brief 2-day stint behind bars. That's one way to get a few views. I guess I could verbally berate people and see what that would get us. Somehow I don't think it would get us the subscribers that we're looking for. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have for today. Thanks for joining us. Always remember and never forget, the Constitution matters.